Hey everybody, Jenna K here. Today on my healing journey, I'm looking at why I struggle with expressing my emotions and feelings. I'll share what has helped me so far and maybe a positive takeaway. So, I have strong faith and believe you're only given what you can handle. I try to look for the lesson in whatever happens and see a sign of what to do next. But sometimes it's like, give me a friggin' break. If you relate or disagree with any pieces of my story so far, please do comment. I'd love comments and I'll try to respond unless they're nonsensical and then I'm not going to respond. I would appreciate it if you'd also hit the subscribe and like buttons as well. So, my goal by sharing my journey is to use my personal treatment plan as a real life example of how the domino effect of events in our lives affects our life's trajectory. I have a problem statement, I have goals, and I have outcomes so far. My discharge date is indefinite. Stay tuned. So, today I'm going to talk, like I said, about expressing emotions. In the next video, I think I'm going to talk about affection, attachment, and maybe detachment. So, stay tuned. So, in order to understand me now, I've had to go back to the beginning. My timeline is a long one. And no, I'm not telling you how old I am. I'm just going to say this part because I think it's important that I do. So I'm not seeking external validation. I'm not seeking attention or fishing for compliments. I'm going to share my story in my words in the hopes that maybe somebody else who's struggling with mental health or physical health or low self esteem and self worth will see something in this plan or in my journey that will be helpful. So, what I can guarantee to you is that I will always tell the truth as I know it. So, here we go, all the way back to the beginning. So, my childhood as part of my healing process. What I did, I had been avoiding going back and looking at old photographs. I really literally had put them away and put them, in a sealed box with duct tape. I just wasn't prepared to go back and look at them. So I dug them out. Some I shared with my daughter, which was kind of a neat experience. But what I saw was quite alarming. I didn't put the pieces of my childhood together in such a way until I looked at those photos. So I'm grateful I did it. The timing was right and I was strong enough to look at them. But the common theme was I didn't show very much emotion. There were no cheesy smiles, there were no grins from ear to ear, there was no smiling with my eyes. Um, that does happen now, or so I've been told. So what I have been able to gather, going back to my first memories, they weren't happy ones. And I'm not going to share the specifics. I work through them and some things are private, but there are reasons why I am the way that I am. I learned as a child very early on to hide and try to be invisible. I didn't develop healthy communication skills and feel a sense of belonging and security as a child. Because of that, I often felt shy and uncomfortable in pretty much all settings. I didn't know it was okay to talk about feelings or emotions, or even what it really was to have emotions until much later in life. Even now, I sometimes still doubt my ability to know what love is, except for my children and except for my pets, unconditional. I would do anything for them, and I would also do the same for anybody who's in my circle. Anybody that tries to hurt my friends or family, they better watch out. I'm small but fierce. I'm extremely loyal. But when it comes to love every day for the rest of my life, unconditionally, putting my guard down to really love somebody in a relationship, I don't really have confidence I know what that means. I don't know that I have the capacity to let somebody close enough to me to know what that means. I'm not quite there yet. I'm hopeful. I'm not giving up. So, the only emotion that I really can identify within myself is fear. I don't always know when I'm happy. I don't always know when I'm scared or angry. I don't really have much of a reaction, and I think my friends will attest to that. I do come across as mad. I do come across as angry when I'm afraid. So I'm working through that. I'm trying to, as things come up, try to put a feeling word with an event or an emotion. So that's something that I'm working on. And I think that if you struggle with emotions or what they're called or how to deal with them, that might be helpful for you too. So here's a little suggestion. So I'm pretty numb when it comes to most emotions. I was taught also as a child that what happens in the family stays within the family. I didn't understand how my friends could share openly with their parents. I wanted to, I didn't understand how to, and I wasn't really given the forum to do that. So, because I couldn't do that, because I didn't really feel like it was safe, I internalized everything that happened and blamed it and took responsibility and made it all my fault. I felt unwanted and unloved, whether it was true or not. This is my perception of my childhood. So my reality is my own. My perception is my own. There's probably, everybody has their own view of the past and how things play out. This is my own. So I felt unwanted and unloved. Whether I was or not, that's to be determined. That's It really doesn't matter. It's irrelevant at this point. So I didn't feel like I felt in my family. So if I didn't fit in my family, how was I going to fit anywhere else, right? So I learned the art of being quiet. I learned the art of being what people needed me to be and not who I am. I formed the idea that maybe being the best at everything would earn and gain validation from my family. I suppressed my emotions. I solely focused on achievements, improving myself, improving my worth, logic over emotions. Even now, I need to make sense of nonsense and I struggle when I can't make sense of it. Now, I had close friends in high school and I was outgoing in my own way. However, I really never quite felt like I fit. Now, that's not uncommon as we go through our adolescence. I just didn't have anybody to talk about it with. So I tried to fix everything about myself because I had that belief that there was something wrong with me. If I could just do this, if I could just change this, if I could just be the best at this, maybe they will love me. It was never about gaining validation from outside the family, although I did receive it oddly enough. It was me gaining acceptance and validation from my mom. I so wanted that. And again, I'm not blaming, it's just my perception. I believe that she did the best she could. She did many things right, and I'm grateful. But within that, I grew up believing that because of me, she suffered. She missed out on opportunities because of me. I got in the way. I was a reminder of my father, who she reminded me often that I was just like him. And it's a product of divorce. I have learned that you never say that to your children. You're just like somebody that you don't like, right? That isn't helpful. It's hurtful. And I don't think she meant it like that. Maybe she did. I'm not going to speak for her because I don't know. Um, Looking back at photos, that box of photos that I just opened up, I do look exactly like him. And I'm sure I was a reminder of the really difficult time in her life. So I don't blame her. That's just sometimes how it happens. And I do act somewhat like him. He did the best he could for the time that I allowed him to. And there was a point in time where I started to buy into the stories that he was all bad, that he didn't have any redeeming qualities, that I am just like him, and I was feeling bad about myself. So I didn't want to go on those every other weekend visits. That's probably my mid teenage years, early teenage years. I don't remember the exact age I was. I also discovered boys. I also was involved in cheerleading. I didn't want to miss out on the activities that my friends were doing. So, we all kind of go through that in life. So I kind of pushed away, and that's on me. And I wish I would have done things differently, but I can't go back and change it. But what I can do is try to rekindle a relationship with him. So my parents divorced when I was around 8, which is probably a good thing. They were so darn unhappy, and I surely was not happy either. So, I, in this part of self reflection, know we live in a world where being upset and showing emotions can sometimes be a sign of weakness. So, what I believe and have discovered is that discussing emotions and feelings is actually a sign of strength, and it's a demonstration of trust and respect. So, in my situation, what I did was I developed emotional perfectionism, where I'd always try to be rational and in control of my emotions to avoid being seen as weak or vulnerable. I have thick concrete walls built around me, and it's taken a lot of work to try to break them down. And if not for bunker like walls, maybe a moat with alligators and a drawbridge and maybe even a fierce chihuahua on guard. So it's been a struggle, and I know why these things have happened, but they happen nonetheless. So, a positive takeaway, because I always try to find one, there's always a lesson in everything that happens to us. Um, I can read a room like no other. I can sense and tailor myself to fit pretty much any narrative. I'm also very understanding and understand the struggles of others. That's made me a pretty good person to talk to. I also don't judge because I know that everybody's situation is unique, and I don't rush to a conclusion. I want to form my own. So I hope you'll do the same. So, what I've learned and I've been practicing, and what's been helpful to me in my struggles, is to challenge my negative beliefs. So, I shared that my interpretation of myself was internalized because of what I believed. So, first of all, I say to myself and challenge those things that I know that are illogical and I know are untrue. So, first of all, I'm not a mistake, despite being made to feel like one and hearing that I am. It was not my fault that my parents made decisions that resulted in me. They made choices, and that is not my fault. I was not a bad child, despite what I heard, felt, and continue to hear now. Honestly, I had amazing accomplishments, and I'm proud of them, not ashamed of them. I have nothing to feel ashamed of in my childhood. I am not to blame for other people's actions or behaviors. Let me repeat that. I am not to blame for other people's actions or behaviors. I am worthy and resilient. I have purpose and I have value. So deep breathe. 2, 3, over and over and repeat. So, a sign of resilience in me is that I can talk about my past. I can talk about my present without crying. Progress is still progress, even if it's slow. So, if you'd like to follow my journey, please do like, follow, and subscribe. It's going to be an adventure. Lifetime probably wouldn't even be able to make my story halfway believable. I've came a long way so far, and I'll get out of my house one day. For now, I'm taking time to do the work on myself that I put off for so very long. I've also got great friends in my circle that have supported me and believed in me even from at a distance. So there's hope. We are resilient. We can overcome difficult things. So stay tuned.